I like to subscribe to all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Piercing. A family man plots to kill a spellbinding sex worker but ends up in a psychosexual exercise to outwit his twisted target. So this drama came out in 2018. It's about an hour, 20 minutes long. Spoiler alert, let's just get it. So it starts off with a little baby just chilling and all that, isn't that nice? But what the fuck, a pickaxe? This guy named Reed was about to kill his baby? What the fuck? Then his wife wakes up to check and was like, hey, the baby all good? By the way, her name is Mona. Then he tells her he's gotta go do some work. This motherfucker's crazy right off the bat. You can pretty much tell this guy's got some psychological issues. So his thing is he's supposed to get a hotel or whatever like that to do some work for his place. But his real mission is to kill a random prostitute in a hotel. Maybe he just gets off on that kind of thing, but I don't know. That shit's crazy. Mona wakes up again later on making sure that he's all good. And she's got him holding a baby. This guy looks way too unstable to be having kids. Now while he's contemplating this crazy ass plan in the bathtub, he gets ready to go do what he thinks he needs to do. She's like, let me know you got there safe and call me if anything happens. He gets to the hotel, calls the manager, has everything all set up. Wiping the fingerprints off the phone. He ain't taking no chances. He ain't touching nothing. Then he's got his tools laid out. He's got ice picks, chainsaws, rope, duct tape, pretty much everything. He takes a nap but wakes back up later on and ends up throwing up in the bathroom. He takes some type of medicine to help him out and then starts going over his lines. So the way he's going to get a prostitute over there is going to say like he's act like he practices on S&M before, which in layman's terms is some 50 Shades of Grey Red Room type of shit. You know, dominatrix style and all that, but really he's going to end up killing her. He's literally going step by step for how he's going to pull this shit off, which he assumes to take him 15 minutes and 45 seconds he writes down in his diary. Getting himself some liquid courage so he can pull this shit off. Then he gets a phone call from downstairs saying the first girl won't show up for another couple hours, but we got another girl on the way. So you can either take one or the other. He chooses the other. Because he's ready to get it on and cracking. Then he goes through his diary again. We see a picture of this lady, which I assume was the original prostitute he wanted to see. Boy, was my assumption off, but I'll tell you about that later. So apparently the substitute was supposed to be this chick named Jackie. And her boss was calling about owing her money or whatever like that. So he's like, I set up another gig for you. Get it done. So Jackie's not the chick that's supposed to meet up with Reed. She heads on over. While Reed is getting ready, she's on the elevator. And she goes through with it. He makes her a drink. And honestly, there's a very long silence for a while. Then he says, are you into being tied up and stuff? And she's willing to go along with anything he wants. Then out of the blue, she starts masturbating right in front of him. After that, she goes to take a shower. Or so we thought. She was taking a long time, so Reed decides to go in there. But when he opens the door, he finds her stabbing herself in her fucking leg. I'm like, what? Then she starts screaming and spazzing out. So the manager calls again and tells him to cut the noise down. He's like, yeah, apologize about that. We'll cut it down. Then the guy on the phone says, you can still kill if you want to. He's like, what? Then the manager's like, thank you. Enjoy your stay. What kind of Cecil Hotel shit they running here? Well, anyway, he tries to get her to calm down. She ends up biting his hand. Then he lays her on the bed and tries to clean her up. Then she was like halfway asleep. I don't know if she was acid tripping or what. He pretends he's gonna go get some towels and stuff like that, but I think he's trying to dip. He meets this old man in the hallway, asks, have you seen his wife? And then he's like, oh, I shouldn't be asking strangers anyway. And right as the old guy gets on the elevator, she pops out the room walking down the hallway like, oh boy. So he's got no choice but to take her back in the room. So he's pretty much gonna dress her, clean her up, and take her to the hospital. In the cab, she's leaning on him, talking about how much she really likes him or whatever. I'm starting to think at this point she did take something before meeting up with Reed. Then she looks at him and says, I know what you were up to. But she never expounds on that, and I'm like, okay, this could go two ways. But before all that, they get her to the hospital. Reed says he can't go into hospitals like that, but he'll stay out here and wait for her as long as it takes. She's like, you promise you'll be here when I get back, right? He's like, I'll definitely be here when you get back. So she heads on into the hospital. Then he gets on a payphone. And you're thinking to yourself at this point, is his wife just out of the loop or naive that he's not doing work, you know what I'm saying? Come to find out, he's talking to his wife and she knows exactly what he's doing. In fact, she's the one giving him tips on how to perform this shit right. He talks about the situation in the cab and she's like, look, there's even three ways this could go. One, she does know about you and she's with it. Two, she knows about you. She's telling the doctor everything about you, and that's the worst scenario. Three, she knows about you and still kind of clueless of what the situation is. So she's like, basically, 2 out of 3 options are good. My question is, why would she be in this? Or is she into this kinky shit too? You would deal with somebody like this and have a baby. We need more backstory on Mona. By the time time goes by, he's been waiting on Jackie for a while, so he decides to call his wife Mona again, but she already asleep. Jackie comes back out, she gets back in the cab, and she's so happy that he waited on her. Then they head to her apartment where she got him trying on random shoes and get comfortable in the house. Then she puts on some music, she's about to make him some soup. Well, before she makes the soup, she makes him some tea or some coffee or whatever. Then they start talking about stuff that they're into, and I get the feeling they're both on 2 different wavelengths. But he seems to think she knows what he's talking about. Then he makes her feel her other leg, which has multiple scars on it. It's like, what the fuck, she been doing this shit before? There's something disturbing about both these characters, and you're thinking to yourself, who's likely to be less insane? So she brings him to the bed and has him feeling on silk sheets. So I'm thinking at this point she really wants to do things with him, but I'm thinking he really wants to kill her. Somewhat. When he goes back up to get his rope, I think she comes with the realization that they're not thinking the same thing. So she's like, can we eat something first? So she finally gets him to try the soup that she made. She stared at him too hard while he's admiring it. Then all of a sudden he starts feeling queasy out the soup that collapses. Apparently she did drug him, but not enough to kill him. Apparently it was the same type of drug that she was on when she went to go meet him. But because he's not used to the drug, he's hallucinating like shit. Then he starts seeing this little girl picking up some scissors to massacre a fucking bunny. Like, what the fuck happened in his life before this point? to see some shit like this. Then he sees people smashing in the distance with Matrix stuff on, dominatrix stuff, you know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, he's convulsing while all this shit is going down. And the person he sees is apparently his mother, or so I thought. She's checking on him to see if he's still alive, but she's like, normally anybody would have passed out by now. So apparently when they were in the bedroom, he told her about the situation where he tried this once before, and he tried to do it with this lady. Oh, that's the lady in the picture. She was in a robe and he ended up stabbing her in her stomach with the ice pick, and she ended up bleeding out in the tub. Then we get this vision where the tub started overflowing, she was flooded in there, and he couldn't get out the door. I'm pretty sure this thing is not real, but something was crawling on his face. More reactions to the drugs. And back in real time, he starts throwing up. And then as he's trying to get himself up, she whacks him with a fucking corkscrew, fucking his face up. And she beats on him like that for a while. Then he has a dream about his real mom, talking about her dad should have aborted you, and then she agreed on it. Obviously, it's too late at that point because, here he is. And she pretty much smacks him around with a corkscrew every time he attempts to get up. Then she just lays next to him, kissing him. Then he wakes up later on asking for his ice pick. So he's got enough strength to go get it, ties her up, and tells her it's only going to hurt if you think it's going to hurt. You have to will it not to hurt. And even though he puts the gag on her, she's not willing to go through with it. So right when he's about to stab her, he ends up losing consciousness and pass out. She gets up and unties herself. She goes through his bag and picks up his diary and starts reading through it. Now she knows exactly what he's all about. And she's steadily reading through it while he's passed out. Next thing you know, she wakes up the next morning and starts playing music. And we see Reed on the couch with a ball and gag in his mouth, hands tied up behind his back. She pulls out his bottle of peroxide or something, whatever. Whatever she's been doing, I guess that's what's been keeping him asleep. He's been looking at the ice pick on the table like he's really going to have a way to get to it. She tries to make him drink some tea, but he don't trust that shit. Then she's about to turn around and use the ice pick on him. He's telling her what spot to put it in, and he's like, alright, go ahead, do it. But right before she's about to do it, he's like, hold up. And he asks her, can we get something to eat first? And she just smiles at him, and that's the end of the movie. I'm not sure what I was supposed to get from it. I'm pretty sure it's a psychological twist in there somewhere, but maybe it's just the essence of the art of kidding. Maybe people are just fucking crazy. Pearson on Netflix. Check it out. Like, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Like these other easy best stars. Big. You got this slogan.